Hi everyone, and welcome to this webinar, Tips and Tricks for Managing Project Finances with Tempo. My name is Óskarsdóttir, and I'm the Marketing Director here at Tempo. Presenting with me here today are Eygló Óskarsdóttir and Alexander Ek. And maybe if the two of you would like to introduce yourselves, starting with Eygló.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Eygló Óskarsdóttir, like Ola mentioned. I've been with the company for 5 years now, and I look very much forward to showing you what we have for tips and tricks for you today.
Thank you, Olaf, for everything and setting this up. So my name is Alexander Ek, and I'm working as a product expert here at Tempo. I have been with Tempo. I'm in my 5th year now, so getting close to Eygló. So I have been a lot on our customer-facing side, helping our customers implementing Tempo to get the most value of our products. Now I'm more working as a consultant on the product side. So this is my role today. Thank you.
Thank you both. And just a quick look at the agenda today. We will start with a short introduction about Tempo before we dive into a demo on server and cloud, respectively. And we'll finish up the session with a Q&A at the end. Now, many of you here today already know Tempo, and you've already experienced how our tools give you and your team what you need to efficiently manage your time and tasks. And maybe you also rely heavily on our reporting to give you the insights and real metrics to make decisions and to start the conversation about true time productivity. And time may be relative, but your business objectives certainly aren't, meaning you have fixed goals but limited time to get them done. And what Tempo does, it allows you to not just track time, but to understand it, value, and optimize it. But you don't just have to take our word for it. Here are some of the 20,000 customers who currently benefit from using Tempo. But to kick us off, I want to start talking about some of the use cases you can currently solve by using the Tempo products. And many of you might be trying to use Jira to manage or track the cost of your projects, but it can be very challenging. We have a lot of customers that, for example, currently use Tempo to support their invoicing, whether they are billing external or internal clients. And interestingly, this is actually the main reason for why Tempo got started. Our developers were required to track their time so that clients could be billed. The clients, however, complained of inaccurate invoices, and the developers complained that they had to log their time in 2 systems, and they found the native Jira time tracking to be terrible. So they developed their own tool. This resulted in more accurate time tracking, plus time saved on actually logging the hours. And Tempo's parent company at the time never had a complaint from customers about invoicing again. Even if you're not invoicing customers, you may want to know what the cost of certain projects are, for example, to determine whether they were worth your time. You might also want to track capitalized expenses or apply for R&D grants based on the number of hours you spent on developing a new product. And if you are a services company, you might want to stay on top of your project costs to prevent you from going over budget. And for sure, in those cases, you will want to track the revenue of your projects. And this can all be done with a combination of the Tempo products. With the Tempo suite of products, you can build your own solution that fits your needs. And on server, you would look for timesheets and budgets together, while on cloud, you would rely on Tempo timesheets and cost tracker to track the cost and revenue. And before I hand it over to Eygló, who will walk you through on how to use Tempo on server to track client costs for a project and the capitalized expenses, I want to launch our poll. So I'll do that real quick. So we want to know, how are you currently tracking the cost of your projects? So very interesting. Many of you are on spreadsheets. No one is on pen and paper. We're relieved to hear that. And maybe Eygló, if you can start weighing in on, are these results surprising to you?
No, not at all. We have a lot of customers and prospects, since my team is speaking to a lot of potential customers looking to go from one tool to Tempo and Jira. And we hear a lot of examples where prospects are leaving Excel and spreadsheets, where they're not just doing and tracking project cost, but also time tracking and doing resource planning. So it's interesting to see that it matches the attendees here today.
Okay, and Alexander, were you surprised with these results?
No, really not. So this is very much where customers come to us, because the use of spreadsheets is very widely used, and of course people are missing with spreadsheets. They are also, of course, it might be good for tracking costs, but it is lacking, of course, transparency, and it's missing other features like seamless integration into their project tool that they're using, like Jira, and also, like Eygló mentioned, the resource management component. So they want to get everything into one tool. So this is where they come to Jira, and with Tempo, of course, they have the option to add the financial component to it.
Yeah, and I hope that we'll be able to show how Tempo can either replace a spreadsheet, which is maybe too simple, or a more complicated tool, or no tool at all. So perfect. Thank you so much, everyone, for answering the poll. We're going to hide the results, and we'll go back to the presentation. Great. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Eygló, who will walk you through a detailed demo, a deep dive on how to use our Tempo server solutions to track your costs. And I'm just going to make you the presenter. Hold on. Great.
Thank you, Olaf. Can you see my Jira screen?
Yes, I can see your Jira screen.
Perfect. So the story of my use case that I'm going to show you is that I would like to track the cost of my client project, which my team is working on, which they're working on integrating Tempo to their ERP system. So that's the Jira project that I've set up here. I would like to compare the planned cost with the actual cost during the execution of the project. And in addition, I would also like to track the total project cost. In addition to that, I would also like to track the capitalized and the operational cost of the project. So let's dive into it. You're probably very familiar with this screen. So this is my Jira project that I've set up for this client project. And here we can see the issues that are part of the project. And these are the projects and tasks that I would need to, or tasks and epics and stories that I would need to complete the client project. And I would just like to start within the issue view, since Tempo also comes with Tempo accounts. So when you install any of the Tempo add-ons, you will get a Tempo account and Tempo Teams, which are core add-ons of Tempo and come for free. And just if we take a quick look on the issue view, you can see that I have account custom field on the issue view, where I can detail that by defining what account I would like to be associated with each issues within my project. So for this client project, I mentioned I'm interested in learning how much capitalized cost and also how much operationalized cost I'm going to be having during the execution of the project. So I have created 2 accounts, and I have defined the accounts on the issue view. So for example, here for this issue and this task, I have associated the Wiki Cloud CapEx account, whereas on the next issue, I have an issue where I'm using the Wiki Cloud OpEx account. So going from there, I would just like to show you where you put up these accounts. So within the Tempo Accounts core add-on, this is where you're taken to the overview when you click on that item. And here I can go ahead and search for a customer or a project that I'm currently working on. And if I filter by the Wiki Cloud project, the one that we were just looking at, I can see that there are 2 accounts associated to that project, the CapEx account and the OpEx account. You can see the project that is linked to this account, which is correct, the Wiki Cloud project. And we can also see that there is customer involved, which is the Green Cloud customer. And the Green Cloud customer is a customer of ours, which we have multiple projects we're working on multiple projects with them. And this is just one example of a client project with them, which we would like to track, and both track CapEx and OpEx and total financial cost for their project. So let's go into Tempo budgets, where everything is set up to track project finances. So when you click on the budgets icon here, when you have installed Tempo budgets, you have this available to you. We're taken to the overview of Tempo budgets, where with this powerful overview, you're able to filter through portfolios and folios that are of your interest. So you can see here with the folder icons, these are representing portfolios, and then the paper icons are representing folios. And folio is simply just a project, whatever you define a project. It could be one single epic, it could be multiple epics, it could be a Tempo customer, Tempo account, multiple Jira projects, so whatever you would like to track and report against when it comes to finances. So I've created a folio called the Wiki Cloud, which includes the issues that are part of the Jira project that we were just looking at in the beginning. So this folio includes 29 issues, and it rolls up to almost, a little bit more than 1,600 hours of original estimates. So when I click into the folio, I'm taken to this overview page, which is kind of like the health status of the folio, where we can see the total cost, the actual cost in the folio. We can see the total plan cost for the folio. We can see some financial graphs and projections and estimations. We can see how many staff members are already working on the folio, and also who's the owner and any additional information. We have, for this particular folio, we are tracking simple cost. So you can see that we have the cost tab here. I'll show you a bit later how you can activate the revenue tracking, and then you will have additional tab here as well. But we have two traffic lights when tracking cost. So we have the budget cost traffic light, and then we have the schedule traffic light telling us, are we behind budget or over and under budget, sorry, and are we behind or ahead of schedule. When I typically create the folios, and when our customers create their folios, they start with putting a baseline or plan. How much are we planning to spend on this project? And you can do planning in multiple ways. So planning your baseline, you can put a lump sum and don't go into details. You can plan from estimates if you have already estimated your hours. And you can also plan from planned items with the integration with Tempo Planner and multiple other options. But I decided to go with the planning from estimates. So I'm using all the estimated hours I've estimated on the issues that are part of the folio scope, and have the folio help me to figure out how many resources I need to complete this project in time. The folio came back with 5 resources. I had an estimated average cost rate for these resources as $60 per hour. And then all the estimated hours for each estimated resource, roll up to the total estimated hours for the sum of the original estimates for the folio scope. In addition to planning for salary cost and resource cost, I also added some non-related resource cost, software license cost, and also some traveling, which is associated to the project. Because for this project, we need to travel to the client on a monthly basis, and it costs us $3,000 per month, which roll ups to $9,000 since the folio duration covers about 3 months. So when you're done and happy with your planned cost scenario, you can go ahead and save the planned cost as baseline, but you can go ahead and create multiple scenarios for one of your folios. And by having multiple baselines and multiple scenarios available to you within the planned cost section, you're able to compare the actual cost of the folio with any of the baselines that you created in the beginning or during the execution of the project. The next thing I would do here is, since I already know that I have 5 resources, I would go ahead and go to the staff section and add the resources I would like to work on the folio. So my team members. You can either do it by adding a Tempo team as a whole, where you have all the Tempo teams available to you that you've created within the core add-on Tempo teams, or you can add them one by one. I've already added 3 team members, so I'm just going to make that good for now, just to show you. And when I go into the cost section, I'm going to be able to see within the actual cost tab how much each of these resources have logged in hours on the issues that are part of the folio scope. So let's go back to the cost tab, but instead of being in the plan tab, let's go into the actual cost. So here I can see details of the salary cost that we have actually spent. It's realized cost, where Brian, he is a designer, he has spent 62 hours or logged 62 hours within Tempo timesheets on the issues that are part of the folio scope. And he has the current cost rate of $75 per hour, which rolls up to $4,650. Same thing can be said by Bob and Taylor. Both of them have logged some hours, and they have also a current cost rate, which will be then multiplied together and rolled up to their actual cost. So from here, you might want to see, since I'm interested of the CapEx OpEx expenditure and the split of the CapEx time and the OpEx time. By default, the folio is going to have all the hours logged and all the actual salary cost or resource cost linked to the operational expenditure. But since I have already created 2 Tempo accounts and associated them with the issues that are part of my project, I would like to see the split. So I can go into the folio configuration, go into accounting, and check the synchronize with accounts. And I would like to synchronize with all the capitalized issues. So going back to the folio and to the actual cost, I can see the split of capitalized expenditures and the operational expenditures. So if we just make it a bit easier on the eye, out of the $34,560, we have spent $25,760 on operational cost, whereas the capital expenditures are $8,800. So this is how you can leverage the power of Tempo accounts and all the work that you've done there, and integrate that with your folio with the configure it correctly. Then we have some out-of-the-box reports within Tempo budgets, and I would like to show you 2. The issue cost report. This is where you can see the total effort of all your issues within your folio scope, how much time was spent on each issue, and how much each issue cost you. So this could be very handy just to get an overview of if issues are, one issue is taking way much time than the other, and also just see if how is the cost distributing over the total task of your project. Another report that our customers really like is the expense report. So one of our customers have told us that the expense report is very important to them when they're estimating pricing for their client projects. So for example, here we can display the results by weeks, and we can see the breakdown, how much cost are we spending per week for this project. So if the customer comes back when we have done the integration between Tempo and their ERP system, they can come back and say, oh, we actually need additional functionality. Then our team can come together and discuss, okay, if we need to do this additional functionality, it's going to take us 1 week of work. And from there, that they can go into the expense report, see how much in average they're spending on this project by week, and that's from there estimate the pricing point for the client. I mentioned earlier that you also can track revenue within your folio, and just to show you quickly, you can do that by going into accounting, same place as we were when we checked the synchronize with accounts. And you can see profitability here, track revenue. It's simple as that. Click on track revenue. Then we are going to be seeing additional tab within the folio. And we can also have the opportunity to use the pricing tables, which is then again leveraging the work and the Tempo accounts functionality. And we can also have the option to synchronize with all Tempo billable hours if you're already using the billable functionality with Tempo timesheets. So only taking into consideration the billable hours in the revenue tracking. So you can see here, additional tab has been added. You can, the same thing you can do here, you can plan for revenue similar as you can plan for cost. And here we have the actual tab where you can see the actual revenue coming in using the billable rates or the pricing rates of the users multiplied only by the billable hours, since I configured the folio that way. I hope this was helpful. So I'm gonna give it to the word to Alexander to take over. And thank you so much. We will be taking questions later on, so please go ahead and ask questions in the control panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Olaf. So I want to show you my screen now. So I think you should see my screen now, correct?
Yep, we're seeing here a slide.
Okay, so
Yep.
what I'm going to tell you a little bit is very similar what Eygló told you, or try to tell you a similar story, but now this time on for Tempo for Jira Cloud. So we also have a solution available, or a set of solutions available for Jira Cloud. So we call that, or this add-on is called Cost Tracker. It is our financial solution for Jira Cloud. Okay, I'm not going to compare it to Tempo Budget. That's a completely different story. So I will show you what Cost Tracker can do. You can of course use or solve the same use case like you do in Tempo Budgets or for the server version. Of course, there are a lot of differences, and the approach is different as well. So what you need to know for Cost Tracker, that Cost Tracker is very much basic, or is very much an add-on on top of Tempo timesheets. So the infrastructure on cloud is differently in regards to time tracking. So it is only working with the Tempo timesheets time tracking provider. So in order to pull in all the data that is necessary to track your costs. So it provides a visibility into your project cost and revenue and overall project health. And the Cost Tracker is a very new add-on. So it was released in the beginning of 2020. So it is only 6 months old. So it is, of course, a feature or an add-on that has been released with a low feature set to start with, but we are really working hard on producing or to releasing new features as we go, and there will be a lot of new features available now within the next month. So we are putting a heavily effort into that to bring it up to speed. But our and the Cost Tracker add-on has already received very good reviews, so it is highly rated on the Atlassian Marketplace, and I really encourage you to check it out. But I will give you now a really in-depth demo of what it can do, and it is very easy to get started with Cost Tracker. Okay, so very much what Eygló also showed you in on the Jira server version. It all starts with the seamless integration into Jira. So of course I have a lot of issues here available, and what I do here is I define very much the project or that I want to track. Okay, and also here in the instance that I have in my Jira Cloud instance, I use the same approach by adding the account field to the Jira issue. So this is the key that we use in order to track, for example, capitalized or operational costs on your ticket. So we have always the accounts here available, for example, and this is the key on creating a scope that you basically need. So now it's spinning. Okay, so And before you get started with CostRecord, the first thing that you need to do is create a Jira filter, okay? And I could, for example, very easily start here with our account. And as you also go here, you see a lot of available options. So it is really easy to use. You don't need to know really on how to create a JQL like it is on Jira Service. So it has a lot of better options like the servers. And so, for example, if you would like to see the custom name here, and very much what Eygló did, I think we have the Green Cloud, right? The Green Cloud name, for example. And we could, of course, add some other things here. We could limit the scope, for example, for a project. Like we go, let's say we do it for Tango. And we could also add, okay, I only want to track, for example, my capitalized or my capitalized activities. And this is done, for example, also here with the category type. So, and you also don't need to remember what they are called. So it gives you all the options that you have here. So let's say we have this filter here. We search for it. It will give me the list of issue within the scope that I have defined. And what I'm going to do now is really easily to save this filter. I could now, for example, just say Green Cloud Tango. And I would say, for example, CapEx work 2020 or something like this. Okay. So once I have created this Jira issues filter, then I will go and move to cost tracker. So you have probably seen here or within the app section, we have the tempo section. Of course, I have also a tempo planner installed. So I also have the planning option from here. But like I also said, you need to have for cost tracker, you also need the tempo timesheet add-on installed to leverage all or to utilize all the functionality of cost tracker. So I will navigate. I'm not stopping in tempo timesheets unless you want me to do that later on. So I navigate to the cost tracker overview page, and you see there are already some projects that I have created. But now I'm going to create a new one. And I just say again here, I basically made a mistake by naming my filter because that is a little bit, so let's say Green Cloud Tango. And now I say CapEx work 2020 because the filter, of course, is not limiting me to a specific year, right? So the scope is now, of course, the filter that I have created. And but the project that I create in Jira Cost Tracker is, of course, or I can limit it to the current year. This I'm going to show that to you. So I will define a rate here, for example. I say $90 and just create it. So the import is now in progress. That might take a while. So in case of that is taking too much time, I'm going to jump into another project that I have already created. But I hope so. You see, it's quite quick. So, and as you probably see, and it might also take a time here in order for the cost to be appear. So, but basically, this is here the overview page that you see, and the overview page you already see all the issues that have been pulled into the scope. So we can, in the meanwhile, while Tempo is importing all the worklogs into cost tracker and so on, I might also walk you through a little bit the configuration that we can do. And we go here, for example, to start with, we go to the configuration, and the time frame is actually none because it has not been pulled in any workload data, but I can already make that to the current year, for example. So I want to track, of course, the work for the year and apply that. So I have my currency set here, and here I want to set a budget. So, and what we also have released now very recently is the option to set a milestone. So the milestone is very easy. So for example, I could set a milestone, let's say I have for 50,000 for, let's say, for the first quarter. And I set another 50,000 for the second quarter. And then I might jump up to 200,000. I don't. So just for you to give you an idea how I can basically set this to several milestones here that I set. So I of course can also do that as a flat line, but this gives me the option to break it a little bit down and to give me some budget milestones that I have. So just see if I already got something here. Okay, while I have looked into the milestones and showed you how that looks like, Tempo has now in the meantime imported all the costs or the work logs for this project here. So this is the overview we get, and you see how the cost has been developed during the time. And as you see, probably my costs are of course far among the budget. So I'm already over budget here for the whole year. So that's of course not a very good scenario, but that is of course only some demo data. So what we can also do, I will also show you, for example, other options that we have. Besides, of course, the time that has been tracked on those issues that are in the scope of my project, I also have, of course, the option to create some expenses here. And I'm a very much big fan now of remote working, so there's no travel cost associated to the customer like Eygló did. So I'm very much for all remote work, but I have discovered now during the COVID times that that all my video conferencing system is not the very best. So I just bought one. And this is of course very expensive. So I put something here, and I have the option here to select a category, but I can also create a new one. So I could, for example, also very easily create just a new category. But however, I want to put that into hardware, and I bought that when COVID breakout, so somewhere in the beginning of March, right? And so this is, for example, give you an example of how you can add your expenses. And of course, once you can, of course, add something else here, some software costs, for example. Software. So let's say end of May. So gives you shows you how these categories are also split up here in between those categories. Okay, so what else can we do here? We can, of course, now, so let's say we also want to track our revenue, let's say so. So just I think I need to go to configuration here. Here, so on the configuration, we have here on the left-hand side, we have several options available as well. So the first one is the rates one here. This is what I set here, or what I set up in the very beginning. So it's very much giving the same cost rate for all the team members that have tracked the time. But if I want, for example, to change that here, I can override these settings. Okay, so for example, that of course changes the costs. And what I have added now here is the revenue tracking. So by enable the revenue tracking, I get another column here, which is called the billing rate. And I can very much say I have, of course, a general billing rate that I can set up here, or and this will then set the billing rate for all of them, and I could easily then override this here, for example, for specific members. Okay, so this is how you set up your revenue tracking, and once you have done that, and we switch back to the overview page, you get a new line here, which is the revenue. So you see both now the cost, the expense or the labor cost, the material expenses, and your revenue against that project, and of course your budget. So there are different numbers or figures available. And one thing that I want to mention here in the very end is from the scope, because there might, of course, so the scope gives you a very good overview. Actually, there are two things that I just want to mention. So as we have seen, all the issues are pulled into this cost tracker project here, but I could, for example, if I want to split that up somehow, I could, for example, create a new group here. Let's say initiative 1, or create another one. And then easily drag and drop these issues here to those initiatives, for example. And then it will also give me the option to track the cost and the time spent and the revenue against each single initiative here. So this is one thing. The other thing that I want to show you, of course, a very important one, is the option to export the scope. So there's the option here to export all that to CSV. So if you have the need in order to do some reporting, or want to export that to another financial system or whatever, you can also export it to a CSV file for importing or for some other external reporting as you need. So another thing that you need to know, or not need to know, but there was at least a question about cloud and the ability in Jira to create so-called next-gen projects. Next-gen projects are getting more and more advanced and more popular within the Jira world. So there has been some question around the ability to track billable hours in the next-gen project. I know that there is some settings available, or which has been released very shortly. So there is the option to also implement or to add the billable hours to next-gen project that has been, I think, released last week or the week before. So that should be possible for now. So that was one question, but I don't want to have that further for now, at least. And before I go, so I will just give you back the word to Eygló, to Olaf.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Alexander. And thank you, Eygló, for your demo. So just for the audience, Eygló was demoing on server and Alexander was demoing on cloud. But with that, we'll move into questions. You can use the question pane on the GoToWebinar side panel. I can see some of you have already started adding your questions, so thank you for that. We'll cover as many questions as we have time for. I'd also like to remind you we have a white paper on the side panel that you can download as well. And if you have a specific use case or a specific question that you would like us to show you during this webinar, you can also add that in the question pane. If, however, we do not get to your question, we'll try to reach out to you via email after the session. But let me see, let's pick a good first question. So maybe Eygló, if you can take this one. We've shown a lot of logged hours or using the tools based on logged hours, but where do people log their time?
I can take that one. So people can, or users use Tempo timesheets to log their time, and there's multiple ways to log time with Tempo timesheets. It's within the issue view, it's in the My Work section, either using the calendar or the timesheets view, or using our mobile app. So there's multiple ways for the end users to log work. And when they log work, that time tracking data will be pushed to Tempo budgets and be available for you there.
Okay,
Hope that
perfect.
answered your question.
Yes. So we do have a few questions about which add-ons you need to be able to perform these, implement these solutions that we have covered. And maybe Eygló or Alexander, you can speak a little bit about what add-ons do we get, or do customers get when they purchase Tempo?
Yeah, I can take this one. On Tempo or Jira for Server, we have 3 add-ons. We have Tempo Timesheets, Tempo Planner, and Tempo Budgets. So you will have to install and purchase these add-ons. So you will, when you purchase the add-on and install the add-on, you will get the add-on that you purchased. So these are 3 different modules or 3 different products. And on Cloud, you have Tempo Timesheets and Tempo Planner, and then the cost tracker for the financial tracking. And it's the same there, 3 different apps or modules, and you will have to install one by one and purchase it separately or together.
Yeah, what I want to add here is the ability. I mean, we both have shown you a use case where we leverage the Tempo accounts functionality. So I just want to add to that. So that add Tempo accounts is, very much, I would say, a sub add-on of all of our add-ons that we deliver. So we do not need to purchase or to install that separately. It's all shipped with our main add-ons that you purchase on the marketplace. So it's always shipped with the Tempo budgets, Tempo timesheets, and Tempo planner, and also, of course, with the cost tracker.
Great, thank you. Eygló, this is a follow-up from your budgets demo. How do you hide salaries from all users, as this can be sensitive information?
Yes, absolutely. So we have within the global settings of Tempo budgets, we have permission to grant users that should have the ability to view other users' or other users' cost rates. So I can take over the screen and just quickly show you where that is hidden.
Yep.
Let's see.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Yep, we see your screen, Eygló.
Perfect. Okay, so within the Tempo budgets overview, you can go into the global settings here in the top right. And under the permission, you can see there's a cost rate manager. And these are the users that then can see the cost rates and the total cost of the actual cost of the staff members within their actual cost section. And whenever there is any rates involved, this is going to be blurred out from other users that do not have this permission.
Awesome, thank you. Let me see. Alexander, this one might be good for you. It's about integrations. So this customer, they're on server, they already have Tempo timesheets and are now evaluating Tempo budgets. They're moving all their invoicing into a third-party tool. Is there a solution available to integrate Tempo budgets with other tools?
So yes, of course there is. So all of our add-ons are very much based on open APIs. That's the huge advantage of Tempo in very general, and we get a lot of positive response on that. And this is the reason why Tempo products are also so very much used, because they can be easily integrated with other third-party applications. However, they might be little bit, there are so many APIs available and not all of them might be officially documented. So there is, of course, our developer page is exposing a lot of APIs and or documented APIs, how they work. But there might be, of course, a lot of APIs that you might want to use that are not officially documented. So in those cases, you can always reach out to us, especially when it comes to the financial add-on for Tempo budgets. When we talk about Tempo Cost Tracker for Cloud, we do not have an officially released API at the moment, but that is also due to the reason that this add-on is very young, and this was not our priority to have an exposed API yet, but that might be later this year or in the beginning of next year.
Great, thank you, Alexander. Here's another question. So I'll try to explain this correctly. We've noticed, so we plan our hours through the staff tab. We've noticed when we do that and then go to the expense report and look at planned cost, the report does not take into account the actual weeks planned. For example, if you plan resource A to work 40 hours in week 40, and in week 4 of a 4-week project, looking at planned cost, it shows that person's hours working 10 hours every week instead of 40 hours in only the last week. This throws off our cost planning. Is there a fix? Maybe okay. Alexander or Eygló?
Yeah, I think I understand the question, but I will follow up with this user after the fact. But how I understand the question is that within the expense report within Tempo budgets, when you're going into looking at the planned cost, it's not taking into consideration the planned hours you've done in the staff planning section. It is instead using the planned hours done within the in the baseline within the planned cost section. So these are the difference. The expense report is taking the planned cost in the planned cost section, not from the staff planned section. But I would recommend you to look into the planning your staff members and then leveraging that to create a cost plan from the planned hours that you've planned on the resources and the issues that are part of the folio scope. And then it should match in the report. But I'll make sure to follow up on that and get back to you on that, if that didn't answer your question.
Great, thank you, Eygló. Here's a question I think I can follow up on. To view budgets, do I need to have another add-on on top of Tempo timesheets? The answer is yes. On server, you need Tempo budgets, and on cloud, you will need cost tracker for Tempo timesheets. Awesome. So let me see. We have time for, I think, 2 more questions.
Yeah, there are a lot of questions, a lot of long ones as well.
We might need to follow up with people one-on-one, but that is fine. Let me see. So here's one from Iris. We're already using Tempo timesheets to track hours worked on issues. Our setup is currently simple. We use accounts to get the reports on time spent for our customers. The benefit portfolio would offer for us is the possibility to have different accounts in one folio and get the reports over several accounts from the folio. Is that correct? Maybe Eygló, you can.
Yeah,
that was a long one.
Yeah, I think the last word should be from the portfolio, not from the folio, but that is correct. With when you're looking into the report section, when you are displaying the whole folio, then you can go into the report section and, for example, go into the expense report, and there you have a field called accounts, where you can then pick and choose which cost information from which account you would like to display on the expense report.
Okay, great. And maybe one more, let me see. Is there an option to set up notifications on Tempo budgets regarding cost issues, or kind of custom notifications based on the invoicing calendar or something like that?
We don't have notifications, but one can build that, for example, with our APIs. But we do have gadgets that are available to add onto the Jira dashboards, which could give you a quick glimpse on what is happening within your folio or portfolios. So you could have the traffic lights, you could have the progress bars, you could have the finance section with a total plan cost versus actual cost, but we do not have notifications out of the box.
Okay, let me see, maybe one more. We have a lot of fixed price projects. Is there a way to set up a base project cost and budgets that all the actual costs would draw down from? to show if we're on budget or not.
So from there, I would have the total budget, the fixed price budget, or the fixed cost. The fixed cost would be the baseline or the total budget, and then the actual cost will be the actual cost of the project, how much is being spent on the project. But then you would compare the two within the overview of the folio, where you can see the total planned cost versus the actual cost trickling up. But yeah, that's how we display it, these two items. I hope that answered the question. Alexander, if you want to add something, please go ahead.
No, absolutely. I mean, this is the very much a use case which is really suited for Tempo budget, setting up easy baseline. I mean, Eygló showed you maybe a little bit more complicated setup and more advanced options that you have, but setting up an easy baseline of your project budget is much easier. It's very easy to achieve.
Okay, and maybe a last comment from Alexander and Eygló. A more detailed manual, if people want to learn more or gain more knowledge about, for example, Tempo budgets or cost tracker, where should they go?
Yeah, so I mean, we have, of course, always our help page. So when you go to our main page, tempo.io, from there is the help section. We have a lot of detailed documentation there. We have our YouTube channel with a lot of webinars and use cases, scenarios. We have, what else do we have? We have, of course, this webinar here. So I always get more encouraged to look into those webinars. We have, of course, our support. So support is always awesome. So if you really have a question where you can't find what you need to look, what you're looking for, then I always would suggest to submit a support ticket. This is what they are for, why they're here. And last but not least, there's also the Slack channel that we have, Tempo ecosystem Slack channel. So which is also a channel or a portal on Slack where people just can ask questions and where other users answer their questions as well. So there's a lot of options that you have. So
I can add one point there.
Yeah, but the homepage is always probably the best way to start.
Yeah, I agree. The Help Center has great articles and the Tempo budgets documentation is very, very detailed and good. But if you're not already a customer and you need more guidance into how to use Tempo budgets, you can check if you're eligible for a demo with a product expert, so one of my team members, on our tempo.io website. So there you can click on book a demo and see if you're eligible and book a time with us.
Awesome, thank you so much. And maybe Alexander, if you will go to the last slide of the webinar, that is all the time that we have for questions today. For those of you that didn't get your questions answered, we have your contact details. We will reach out to you via email. But in case you're curious about some of our other offerings, like Alexander said, there's a lot of content on our website and our help center. You can monitor our webinars and see if there are upcoming webinars or past webinars that are interesting to you. If you have further questions, you can book a demo, as Eygló said, or reach out to us directly at sales@tempo.io. And yeah, that is really all we have time for today. Thank you all so much for joining. And maybe Alexander, if you have any last words, or Eygló, this is your time.
Yeah, I just really would like to thank you for the attention and all the great questions. There are really a lot of great questions and we couldn't really get into all of them, but we really try to follow up with those, and don't hesitate to contact us via support or the channel that Eygló mentioned. But really appreciate your attendance and your engagement. Thank you.
Yep, and Eygló?
Just thank you so much, and we look forward to supporting you further. Have a great rest of your week.
Yes, goodbye everyone and stay safe.